What is different about your product?
You got a story to tell, something gonna connect to somebody else.
How to actually run a business versus having a vision for a business.
A lot of people come to me and they say they're scared to take that next leap.
Visual design is always going to be driven by the vision.
And I just was like, how do I do this?
What am I adding that they don't have?
Hey, brand builders, ready to take your brand to the next level? I'm Dana Ammons, and welcome to the Brand Blueprint. One of the components to building a successful brand is understanding and leveraging key data and insights. So it's time to get into our data section called the Brand Data Lab. Here, Christian will take us through trends, tips, and other topics related to, you guessed it, data.
Thanks for that introduction, Dana. I'm Christian Ampuero, and I will be with you guys in this segment in which we don't want to just throw numbers and data at you, but rather analyze it in a meaningful way that is useful for your brand. So, right now, we're at the very beginning of our brand project. We don't have much information of sales, trends, etc. What we are going to be doing in this first episode is we won't see numbers just yet, but we will see some sources and how can you search for information that you will need not only for developing your brand but also to listen to this podcast. So for this purpose, we're going to divide the episode in four categories, which are staying up to date, concepts, statistics, and reports. So let's get started. Dana, what kind of sources do you use for staying up to date?
Great question, Christian. I read a lot of news on a daily basis. My primary news source is Apple News, but I also like to use Flipboard and routers as a good neutral source for backup.
Amazing. So this type of news media is quite the most common that we have, is the one that we have the most frequent interaction with, and there are high chances of coming across a news article when you are searching for a topic.
Now, let me pause you right there. I know that many in our audience may be thinking, Kristen, I don't know about a lot of these current media sources. I just don't trust them. What would you tell them?
Sure, that's totally understandable, especially nowadays. However, let me tell you something. Data and numbers don't lie. It's people in the stories that they build with these numbers and data what can be lying. So what I would suggest to you is take some minutes to check the sources of these news articles, and then you will find if actually the story that they are telling is misleading, or if it's actually something you can trust.
Good point.
So now for concepts. When you listen to the Brand Blueprint podcast, you may hear some concepts that you have never heard before or that you want to do more research on, like, for example, marketing or finance concepts. Then what you should do is research for some databases or encyclopedias, for example. Investopedia is a page that I really like because they have a solid encyclopedia of finance, economic, and accounting concepts. Then you should also try to search for definitions according to authors. For example, if you have studied marketing at any level, then you probably know who Michael Porter is. You may have heard about the five forces of Porter. So what you may want to do is search for definition or topic according to Michael Porter, for example. Then I know that this is a little bit tedious, but it is always a safe bet is to use academic sources. Just like with the author Porter, he has a lot of books. You can also check for academic articles, magazines, or theses, and you will be sure that you can trust what you find. One of the best tools for searching for these type of sources, and that is absolutely free, is Google Academic.
That's pretty good advice, especially when you think about getting that kind of content for free, and you don't have to go to college to get it, right? So let's get a little controversial, Christian. Those are really strong, educationally backed news and data sources. But what do you think about using Wikipedia?
Well, let's not raise the red flags just yet. I know how controversial it is, especially if you are a college student. You know you're gonna get a zero if you use Wikipedia in your sources. However, for this purpose of research, there is a way in which you can actually use Wikipedia in a trustful way. So, for example, let's say that you are trying to search for the population of a certain country while doing your market research. Then, what you can do is go to the Wikipedia page of this country, find that number that you are searching for, and see what is the source that they are using for this number. Then you may see that, for example, they are using information that comes from the government itself, which is quite trustful. So this is a good way in which you can use Wikipedia without falling into some sort of, uh, let's say, trust trap or something like
Mhm.
that.
You know what? That makes sense. I mean, I've used Statista for some time now, and it is really useful. But I also have experience, and the ability to quickly analyze the data and apply it to whatever problem I'm trying to solve. But what if I don't have the time or the skill sets to do all the analysis by myself?
Well, then you may want to have some already processed data, some already processed information, and there are a lot of news media that already do this. They have some columns in which experts give their opinions of certain topics. There are also some private firms, like for example, the database that is Passport and Euromonitor, in which they give you basically an all-in-one. They give you statistics, trends, reports, and analysis. However, and we're gonna see that this happens in many cases because it is a private firms who offer this service. A lot of the content is locked behind a paywall.
Mm. No, that's good advice, and I know the listeners will have to make a educated decision on where and when they spend the money to obtain the right to statistics and trends and data. I'm sure the audience will find this information really useful. So thank you for the advice.
Yeah, and for the last category, which is statistics, then we are going to divide this topic into three categories, which are the first one is going to be national institutes or national organizations. We have, for example, governments or national statistic institutes that exist around the globe. We also have international organizations like the World Bank or the International Monetary Fund. And the last, and we already talked about this, is the private firms. There is another private firms called Statista, and they have a lot of information about demographics, economics, which is pretty useful. The last thing that I like to talk about for statistics and data in general is syndicated data.
Mm-hmm.
I will leave it to you to search what syndicated data is, but you must know that, for example, if you are in an industry like consumer packaged goods, syndicated data is really useful because it is going to give you information about your market, your competence, and a lot of more valuable information.
No, that is really, really helpful advice because I think that source is very popular in the consumer products industry. But if you've never worked in the industry, you wouldn't know about it. So thanks for that advice.
Sure. So, and just to not leave you without some examples of this syndicated data, I will say really fast that, for example, we have Circana or Nielsen, this so that you can search for the data that they offer. They are really good, and it's worth the investment.
No, very cool. Thank you again for that advice.
Yep. So thanks everyone. This has been the first episode of the Brand Data Lab. Thanks for listening to us. And please let us know your thoughts and questions in the comments. See you next time.
See you.
Thanks for joining us on the Brand Blueprint journey. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms to stay updated. Watch the full episodes on our YouTube channel for an in-depth experience. Don't forget to subscribe to our website at thebrandblueprint.biz. for exclusive content and materials. We're everywhere you need us to be.